What up, though? I am Jay the Gentleman. It's Wednesday, so this is a new episode of Dear Black Gay Men podcast. When you're newly single, my bad, there are some relationships that you can get over, and there are others that you have to heal from. You get over, the guy that you ghosted because his breath stank, or you get over the dude that stopped responding on Jacked, or you get over the one who you dated for a little while but he chewed weird, or he painted, or the dick was trash. Like, you get over certain relationships, but you have to heal from those relationships that took courage and vulnerability to be in. And so as a baseline, I think everybody can kind of agree that the harder we fall for someone, the more of ourself that we have to give to a relationship, the more work it really does take for us to move forward and rebuild. I have a whole playlist dedicated to one of my exes, Joe. The link is in the description. And he was, I've called him the love of my life. I thought I was going to spend my whole life with him. But it wasn't until I'd gone through the process of healing from that relationship after we broke up did I realize that I'm in a much better place because of that relationship. So we're going to talk today about 5 signs to know that you're healed from a bad breakup. How you heal, how the process of healing will be different for everybody. That's a totally different conversation. But today we're going to explore some of the benchmarks to know that you've gotten through the process. Note that these signs, as I've compiled them, are not in any particular order. Number 1 is you can genuinely greet them in a public space. So when Joe and I were together, I made a point to introduce him to all of my friends. I wanted my love life and my life to be integrated. And so my best friend called Joe a friend. My family had all met him and knew him. They had his phone number, the whole nine. So then when we broke up, it was all those same people, my support system, that I had to rely on to get over. And it was one instance that I can remember. We were out. It was Pride weekend here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I didn't know, but Joe was standing like 5 feet away from me. I still don't remember anything about this at all, but it was so interesting how everybody, my best friend, some of my acquaintances, everybody activated because they was like, there go Joe. What do we do? And they ushered me somewhere seamlessly, even to where I didn't even know he was there. Because I think everybody knew that had I seen him, that was immediately following our breakup. We broke up in the summer. Pride was the beginning of the fall. Had I seen him, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I would not have been no more good. And so the first sign that you know that you are going through the healing process is you can lay eyes on your ex. You can see them in a public space following your breakup and be able to greet them. Say, hey, how you doing? Now, that doesn't mean you want them back. It doesn't mean that you need to have an extended conversation. But being able to share space with someone who you loved, someone who meant so much to you, is an important part of the healing process. And it's a healthy indicator that you're moving through it. The next one might be a little controversial. Not because I'm talking about, glory holes again, but because a lot of people might have some resentment about it. And that's exactly why it's important. The next one is you can send him funny memes. I know that every relationship that I've ever seen and every relationship I've ever been in, the best time I've ever had was sitting on the sofa not watching TV and sending each other funny memes that we find on TikTok or on Instagram. You end up, the relationship is a space where you start to understand each other's sense of humor. You start sharing things that you think are funny and you think they'll think are funny as well. And just because you break up doesn't mean you're going to lose their phone number. So if you can send a funny meme because something reminded you of your ex, because some comedic moment made him come across your mind and not feel angsty about it, it's a pretty good indicator that you're moving healthily through the healing process. The third is you can start remembering the good times in your relationship. Immediately following a breakup, it's easy to remember the ain't shitness of your ex. He ain't shit because he ain't make up the bed. He ain't shit because he cheated on me. He ain't shit because he dumped me. He ain't shit because, and all of those. And the ain't shit phase is important. You can't overstep that. If anybody tries to tell you to not be petty and not remember the fucked up shit that nigga did, fuck them. All feelings, even anger, resentment, frustration, all feelings are meant to be felt. But when you're healed, when you can start remembering the fondness of your relationship. You got with this man for a reason. I got with Joe for a reason. There was something about him that made me smile, and not just on my face, like deep down in my spirit. And it's important to recall those moments so that you can go through the next step in the healing process. Before we get to step 4, what's one good memory you have of one of your exes that you're healing from? Let me know in the comments. I love having the conversation, about all of us along our journey to happiness. Number 4 is you stop regretting the relationship. Just like it's easy to feel like he ain't shit after a relationship, it's easy to feel like you wasted your time with this man. You put forth all of this effort. You were courageous. You stood by your feelings. You moved in the direction of another person. It's very, very easy to feel like all of that was for naught if the relationship doesn't pan out how you hoped it would have. It's also easy to call a relationship a failed relationship because you didn't get married, because y'all didn't have happily ever after. But what if the relationship was put in your way, just as it is, to get you exactly where you are now? What if you needed this relationship to teach you vulnerability when you're dating? What if you needed this relationship to teach you courage? And what if this breakup is to teach you that you can be all these great things in a relationship and that's okay? That's a great thing. Just because this man did not last in your life doesn't mean that he and the time you spent together were pointless. And when you can start processing all of that, when you start remembering that this was meant for me, that there was something here for me to gather, then you are going through and maybe even have gone through the healing process. The 5th step, or the 5th benchmark, really, to me, is that you can start processing the lessons. It kind of goes with number 4. In a large part, it really does go with the 4th step. But learning yourself, learning another person, learning how to do anything, as I'm learning to be a YouTuber, learning is never a complete process. My father is a doctor, and there is something new that he learns every single day in practicing his craft. My ex, Joe, he was put in my way to teach me something about myself, because the truth is, when you're dating someone, they will see you in a light that you will never see yourself. They will see what you look like from a third person perspective, because everything I do in my life, I am doing it. I am internal. But they get to walk with me through my evolutionary process in my life and see me in a way I'll never see myself. And sometimes they reflect that back to me and remind me how dope I am. But other times they might remind me about all the flaws that bubble up to the surface because I decided to share my life, this chapter of my life, with another person. It's important for us to process those lessons so that we don't carry old bags on new journeys. I really do feel like a lot of us end up getting stuck here. We go through all the other 4 benchmarks of healing, but we get stuck on that 5th step because it's easy for us to point the blame in a failed relationship. It's easy for us to make it seem as if the other person was the problem. I was perfect and they were the problem. But sis, everything you go through, you are at least halfway responsible for. Joe might have walked away from me, but I actively participated in our relationship and I created the reasons why he broke up with me. Whether or not I agree with them, I created them. And I had to learn for myself that it's important to go through the process of healing from a relationship so that I can start processing all of the lessons that this relationship was put in my way to teach me. I think the bigger lesson in all of this is that when you're with someone who matters, someone who can check you, someone who can get in your shit and tell you about yourself, they become a huge part of your life. And interestingly enough, putting yourself in a checkable position, because my friends will tell you I can't stand being checked. I do not put myself in readable positions. But that's all dating is putting yourself in a readable position. That level of vulnerability, opening myself, yourself, ourselves up to somebody else is a big deal. It's a big fucking deal. And getting over him, getting over a man that you really need to heal from, that doesn't respect all the sacrifices and all the courage and all the vulnerability and all the giving and all the evolution and all the lessons and all the arguments and all the good times and all of the shit that you went through during this relationship. It is our responsibility to give that space, to let that breathe. Because otherwise, we end up being resentful men, unknowingly resenting men, trying to date men. I always say that healing in a relationship is just like healing a broken bone. The whole process is to help you, me, us get back to ourselves with full mobility. So, dear Black gay men, vulnerability is important. Rebuild it wisely. That was our show. I am Jay the Gentleman. If this episode made you feel a little more dope, be sure to share with someone who needs a dopeness reminder. We are new every Wednesday, so follow Dear Black Gay Men on socials. I am Jay the Gentleman. That's at JAI the Gentleman. That was our show, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.